All right. Good morning, traders. You should see my screen. You should hear the melodious sound of my voice. Morning, Don. Thank you. Good morning, Kyle. Good Wednesday morning to you, Kent. Good morning, Mike and Doug. Happy hump day indeed. Love it. Good morning, Peter. Thank you guys for the strong energy. I feed off of it. Your energy makes it easier for my energy. Morning, Victor. Good to see you, sir. Um, it's an interesting thing for me to watch. In our group, we develop what I affectionately call the usual suspects, and we have some come and go, and some have been around for quite a while. But it's a remarkably strong crew, and I think that's an important attribute of the group, right? Like, is can you find like-minded people willing to share that I mean, like, that's a testament of the group for sure. Morning, Sandy. Sandy's one of the salty old dogs, been around for a while. Amazing to have had her for as long as we have. Good morning. Welcome everyone to the Wednesday Market Midpoint. I'm Scott. I'll be your host. Sandy. Ah, stop it. You're distracting me. As always, what we do is for education and illustrative purposes only, nothing intended as a recommendation. We're not brokers, we're not advisors. We don't give personalized investment advice. Decisions made based on what we do should be done so at your own risk, yada, yada, yada. Okay, we know what we're doing. Let's go do it. We know the things we're going to do. Possible trade alert here if it triggers. May go out this morning. EWZ is now, it's not from our list, but it is a good. I do like the internationals. I've thought about putting them on our list before, but let's go take a look at. Let's see here. I lost my platform. Okay, there it is. Got an opening jump on what? Reaction to news. What news? You say, Scott? Stocks rise on report U.S. Iran close in on peace deal. Now, what I want to call out is we've been saying that the observations we've had in our market posture are helping convince us that something the expectations of this, what's getting in place, have been in place far longer than this morning. I think that this administration has a transparency, um, like a not like a public transparency, more of like a close private transparency. Apparently, there are some very fishy trading patterns that have developed, where they can point to spikes in activity before announcements. I don't think this is the case at all right now. I'm saying this has been building the whole time, right? We've been talking about the VIX, and we're saying, look, whatever is happening, the institutions who do have way more people than we have, who we have each other. And you can't take that away from us. But institutions have lots of money, deep pockets, lots of people to get information. That's what they feed off of. And when they get that information, then they invest on it. And we try to process what they do because they create the momentum that we go in and capitalize on. So if we can get them right, we should be able to get the market right, right? That's the market. It's the institutions, 90%. And so we've been, I hope, and echo that for me, but I feel like we've been kind of keying in on like something's here that we haven't really seen that we're just sort of expecting it to continue. Anyway, um, hard to, yes, there it is. That's a phenomenal way to put it, Kyle. Love that. Hard to hide positioning, always a footprint, quote unquote, Kyle from the group. That's spot on. And in fact, that's like the basic premise for the VIX as a fear indicator is when institutions hedge, they're going into somebody else's backyard, right? They're going into the options. There's no honor among thieves here. When institutions go into the market, the market makers are like, yeah, okay, start buying. We'll tell you what happens to the price. And right, there's no quarter given, and so they can't hide that. That's where the VIX really, they can hide a lot of things when it comes to like manipulating price up or down to test the water. Right there's a lot of different techniques institutions use, but you cannot hide when you are hedging. Um, and that makes the VIX such a strong indicator for us. So anyway, that's our morning soapbox discussion. But good start. S&P, let's see. Let me get to the actual up 0.77, down 1.14, NASDAQ 0.8. And the Russell is not 1.75. I just don't get the data feed from Yahoo Finance. Let's take a quick peek at the IWM so we know what's going on there. Whoops, that's not the IWM. I don't know what's going on. Can't type the symbol. 1%. 1%. Okay. Good. It's good. Go look around. What's going on? We'll start at the bottom. Vodafone. I said I'm gonna see if it can manage a little more. It did a little more. It's holding up. Patience. And again, it's not like we're like, hey, we decided we're just gonna be more patient. As our market posture was dropping, I told you I'm getting less and less patient. There's no more of this, like, we have trades go against us and we're like, well, let's just see what happens, even though it is at or even beyond possibly a risk level where you're like, yeah, I mean, we try our best to keep our risk in control, but circumstances are circumstances. If the trade still looks viable, you may still hold on to it. And it's a funny thing, because, and I don't think PJ is here. And did anyone else? So I closed the AMAT trade. I said, look, I'm following my rule. I was really on the fence with it. I'm like, it's right at this level here. And it made this recovery. It was phenomenal recovery. So some people held on to it. And this is not a, is anyone in the room still in this? Let me know. I hope so. I hope there's a few people still that have a piece of this. Love when I see stuff like that. Yeah, for me, it was a hard like close under there. Tom Cook, well done, sir. Honestly, this shadow keep that was where I was. Is I was just kind of like I don't know why I got myself a little hung up on the bodies because it did never really actually break the shadow. I'm actually going to chalk this up to a Scott mistake. I think I should have. I think I should have held it. I thought about it. It was, it gapped. It took a hard hit, but it didn't break the gap actually. Anyway, all right. So those of you who are watching it continue, well done. I would still consider the old target as you watch this thing go, and I believe you'll have a potential take profit through here. So there you go. Yeah. Oh, Scott, sometimes, buddy. Okay, here's a question. Who in the last month has identified uh yep, that's on you moment that they've had? Are we taking good hard looks in the mirror to find opportunity for self-reflection where we're like, that one's on me. Mike. uh always feels like it's too many, doesn't it? I agree with that. Craig says yes. Okay. We just have to throw it out there today. I mean, look at it, right? Like but look what's happened here. There are multiple people in this group making money on this trade. And I'm looking at it, whereas I'm like, yeah, it was all right. Everything about it was right. And I got shook. Um, where, it's like, oh, your rules have to be stronger because of blah, and it's like you feel like you're doing the right thing at the moment sometimes. Anyway, and then you realize I was a little too myopic. Oh, Craig, look at that. That is beautiful. Journaled, noted to learn from the future. I love that. I love that. You can't see it, but I'm crying a tear of trading joy. Okay, AMKR. It's a good discussion this morning. Interesting that it's stalling here. It was like we were waiting, not quite convinced, and then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, we're too convinced. One of those. Yeah, right. I agree with that. AI has definitely made it easier to do some of the harder parts of trading and should be taken advantage of. So, I mean, things look good. The question is, do we see anything that looks potentially new? APH, this was kind of a funky, weird consolidation after earnings. It like got good earnings, initially gapped up, and then it just had this weird, like, I don't know. It's holding now, so maybe turning, making a pinch here, but I would say you would want to wait for the cross and something that would at least take out today's high. Not necessarily these. That's kind of a long wait. I don't know. Maybe though. Yeah. Let's keep an eye on it. ASX walking on up, doing its job. Keep on going, buddy. Love it. I love it when it just sort of like starts and goes, and it's like you drew it up. It's like you drew up a plan, and you're like, here it is. I'm submitting this proposal for consideration, and it's just like, we prepare ourselves for hiccups, sometimes double hiccups. We prepare ourselves, some better than others. for potential gaps that may really test the stretch of support and resistance levels. I'll skip. I'll skip. If you throw a symbol today, we're going in any order, and then I'll remember where I was. So ASX. Kyle says Nvidia looks interesting. We've been talking about Nvidia looking interesting. Oh, it looks very interesting. That's like literally the signal we said we thought would be interesting if it shows up. Stochastics is given a hook. Classic. Plenty of time before earnings. They just barely showed up. So I have like 10 full days. Now, what I would say, this one's actually kind of interesting. It's similar to the AMAT. You've got an old resistance here that actually connects pretty well with this. And you might, if you took this trade, have to contend with this thing. I would still, like I'm not gonna. Let's see what the Heiken Ashley looks like before I mention anything else. Good jump, by the way, Kyle. So it's still a transition, but it's clearly the first white transition. One of the things I'll do here is I'll actually take the low of the last, or the body of the last red candle. So I'm not looking at the bottom of those. I'm just kind of looking more in this area here as like this could be like a tighter place to get in. That's around 197.25. Let's switch back. So you can see it's in yesterday's range, but still well below today's low. So that dotted line would be the tightest. And then I would probably say here is mid. That's under the body of that candle. And then the most conservative stop obviously would be here. So each of those represents extra risk. Now, what would our expectation to the upside be? I mean, if you took this trade, I would say basically you would be looking for a take profit here and then possibly, a few more. Can it pop up and get a new high? Clearly the sector's doing well. Everyone who's like, oh, there's concerns if AI is producing blah blah, and then it's just like boom, boom, boom. So let's just run a little bit. Let's say that's 221.50. So that's just about a 20 point full-fledged move, 20 points. To the downside at 197, that's about four and a half. And that's about 6. So you can get a strong reward to risk ratio here. You can still get above a 3-to-1 here. I don't think you can here. Now you're about 8 points, 8 to 20. So if you took all the way down here, so it's kind of, if you were to like map it, it's like this first one is a 4-to-1. The second one is actually maybe even a 5-to-1. And then you have like a 3.5. And then the bottom one is like a 2.5. Right? Those are your, does that make sense as far as when you're thinking about reward to risk? The reward is already there. That's it. The best we think this can get is possibly a 20, just under a 20-point move ish. Maybe you think there's more. I don't know. As far as planning for this, then I think, well, if I put my stop, I've come to terms with the fact that reward is impossible. So I mean, yeah, it's I like to give it a stab. We had a great. If anyone missed it last night, actually a lot of people missed it because there wasn't very many of us. But last night there was a crew and someone said, "Can I took the city alert, but I took the 130s." Um, and I said, "Oh, okay," and I said, in fact, I couldn't remember if he was there in the morning. I said, in the morning we actually looked at the 135s, and I bet at least a few people are in the 135s because they took it before I even put the alert out. Is that true? Did anybody take the C trade, the Citigroup trade, with 135s before the alert came out? Let me know if that was the case, or if you took it with different ones before, or if you took it with different strikes even after the alert came out. Let me know how that one stands. But what I did was I walked through. I'll go post the recording. I think I need to go post that recording. We walked through, and I said, "Here's what I did: is I took the 130s and the 135s and the 140s, and sort of played across and looked at reward to risk. They were all very close, but there was a slight edge to the out of the money. What is the other thing? When we position size them each to $500 of risk. PJ, you are here. I didn't see you earlier. We looked at AMAT. Looks like a magnificent day. um, when we looked at the numbers, it was 3 contracts for the 130, 4 contracts for the 135, 7 contracts. No, three, four, six. Three, four, 6 contracts for the 140s because they're incrementally cheaper. They all have the same number of risk, 3, 4, 6. They all have about, literally it was like 525, 35, 40 for risk based on where a stop was. So we standardized the risk across them based through the position sizing. But now I have 6 contracts. Now I can I can be like, all right, I'm gonna take a couple here. And I know that when I get to that point, I'm usually getting about 2 to 1. If I have a strong, if I have a 4 to 1 on the, if I have a 4 to 1 on the ultimate target, then the take profit's going to get me 2.5. I take a couple contracts, lock in gain, move the stop. Then what? Let it go. Get to the full. And it gets to the full. I'm going to get 4 to 1. Great. I'm happy with that. Let's sell 3 more. Then I have 1 contract left. And I'm like, hey, let's put a tight stop. Let's see what, trail stop. Let's see what can happen. And then we can, I personally in my trading like the flexibility that more contracts gives me. So if there's ever like a tie, or even if it's a little, and obviously if it's cheaper contract, that means I'm going out of the money. But what we talked about was the fact that, look, this, what makes out of the money dangerous, and why do people think it? And I kind of walked through that to help hopefully dispel concerns, because that trade would start out of the money and end out of the money, and it would be fine, just because we would have literally a month of time left on those contracts. There's no like, oh, what if they expire worthless? Well, they're not, because we have a plan. Okay. This thing was like pausing for just a second right now, where I'm like, this is going to give us a chance, and then it just exploded on us. Yeah, look at that. Very interesting. I'm going to wait and see if this thing pauses and comes back down into this range to try to catch it. I don't want to chase into this, morning move. Ooh, it's kind of, did anyone pull a quick trigger on that? I don't know if they would. Makes you feel like you're day trading, even though you're looking at it as a swing trade. Kyle said yes. Okay. Get option and so you are day trading it, or are you entering for a swing trade? Something. Yeah, I get it. I'm gonna nice, Sandy. I'm telling you, our group. So impressive. I'm gonna watch for what? I'm gonna watch to see if this happens. You can see that like there's a couple of these areas that might show up as a useful place where it pulls back down. If it does that, we'll have an opportunity to catch it in the same vein that are, but right now already the reward to risk is shift. So let's be patient. Let's be patient. Good call out, Kyle. I was at ASX again. It's open door, open forum. ASX is picking up some steam too. Look at that. Let's go. AXP. I don't know what happened with the credits. They just sort of like lost their luster. Baba. Oh, Baba. Remember we were looking at it. Baba. Some of us may or may not have taken a little piece on their own accounts. BAC, good day. Good day today. As I said, I took this is actually about where I ended up taking a little piece before, and then I said I'm going to hold. As I've said, the improved posture makes it easier to hold on days like this, where you're like, it's all the way back, okay, but it didn't break support, and then we recover, and then we bounce. Still in BAC. Nice. Yes. Good. Love to see it. BCS, a little jump. The new one from yesterday. All right. Like to see the I mean it's a red candle, but it's up 1.3%. And obviously we think there's a good chance it might finish in the middle or even closer to the high today by the end of the day. Either way, stochastics is starting to accelerate, you can see. Like to see that. Always like an early start in our favor. Caterpillar slowing down. CF earnings. We'll just wait. Sienna it was too big of a initial. I never like when it's steady, coherent earnings. But if you took the trade, the pre-earnings trade, it worked. Earnings come after market. If you're in Cisco, looks like it may have had a little. Ooh, this could even be the uh elusive abandoned baby candle. Look at that poor thing stuck out there by itself. Uh, if you're in it, hopefully you took a little already, and now you're going to decide if you think that might be the end of the road for a quick hit. It looks very similar to the last one. That's a principle we employ in this group. Yes, we like to measure and say we can't, as Kyle said, predict the future, and but we can certainly say, look, this is what it tends to do. So let's start with that. And that's going to help us at least know when we should take some pieces or anyway. Anyone in Cisco had Cisco? Look, yeah. But it's a funny thing, right? My perspective is the same as yours, and that is I want to start with a certain level of skepticism. I used to teach a boot camp way back when. It was a 3 day, 8 a.m. to 5 a.m. breakfast, lunch. We're all at the same staying at the same place. It's phenomenal. It was like the laboratory where I really dove into trading psychology and could just see it live, real time. And I used to teach, like that was my subject, which was the afternoon of day two of this 3 day thing. So afternoon of day two, that was mine. You'd come back from lunch and there would be a slide. And it was just a quote. It said, I believe the trade I'm in right now will be a loser. That was the quote. And I would just sit at the, at the front, kind of getting ready, but watching as they shuffle back in from lunch, sit down, and they organize their coffee, right, and get back on their computer and look. And I could see them. They read it and just sort of like cock their head a little, like what, and I'd have a discussion. I'd be like, "What do you guys think about that quote?" And inevitably, somebody would be like, "Well, then why are you in the trade?" Right? Like, well, and I said, "Well, notice that he said the word I believe. He hasn't seen it go wrong. He said, I believe the trade I'm in right now will be a loser." And it's interesting because the next thing I would do is I would correlate it. And I'm sure you guys all have instances, but I would tell people drivers in Utah are the absolute worst. And I say they'll just change lanes. It's like no happened to me yesterday. Literally, I'm driving home, talking to my wife, and just right on the freeway, person just no signal, just boom. And and guess what? I've moved right over to the other lane because I believe the car next to me is gonna try to come into my lane. That's my philosophy. So when they do, I'm ready, right? Boom, I take action. They haven't started coming yet, but I'm ready when they do. Um, Victor says being skeptical is not a bad thing. Amen. 100% agree. Being skeptical keeps you honest, right? And keeps you ready. We don't make assumptions. And so they expect the spirit. I got a prompting. I don't know. So I love that philosophy. And so I was like sort of saying, look, you know, we're in the jungle. That's the reality. Is something could just turn at any time for no reason, for any reason, for no reason. So the question is are we ready? Well, if we believe it's going to, we're certainly ready. And in the meantime, let it do what it's going to do. So anyway, interesting conversation. I hadn't thought about that slide for so long. That was one of my favorite slides. Um, I think we've actually talked about it. It was Williams. What's his first name? He won a couple of the Robbins World Cup, and then he started his own company, and then he got arrested for tax evasion. God, why can't I think of his first name? His daughter's the actress, Michelle Williams, something Williams. Anyways, okay, let's go look at some more symbols. Larry Williams? No, is it Larry Williams? Maybe it is. FP. That sound okay. I think you're right. Actually, I think you're right. Larry Williams. That does sound right now. Yeah. Thanks, FP. Larry Williams. Anyways, was good. He could trade. He's a speculator. mm. Okay, so did anyone we this Delta is one that was just kind of it just sort of snuck up. Um I can't remember. It may be Williams percent R may be his indicator, actually, in fact. Did anyone pull the trigger on Delta? That just kind of turned and then popped and then popped. Not bad. Dow's holding on to its gains up 1% and change. Dow Chemical had a fast, hard rollover. GE, big pop. Ooh, we were looking at this one. It was just like the options were outrageous. Actually, it's not even getting any action today. Interesting. Interesting. Larry Williams. It's definitely Larry Williams. That's 100% who it is. Gold with a 3% pop. What's going on there? GM trying to turn. That actually has a little bit of a look to it, right? Like if you think if you think a move like this could repeat itself here, and you'll notice that was what would be looking for. I would think let's duplicate that. Failed, failed. I think we actually pulled the trigger on this one, and then we're like, okay, it's dead. Very similar to this starting point. Put this here and ask yourself, is there enough room? I would actually probably look for this to already be in gear. So probably a stop 76, 2.5, 80, 78. Can I get 7.5? 79, 86. It's about a 3-1 right there, actually. If you thought it looked interesting, kind of the industrial slash consumer discretionary space. That's kind of has an interesting look actually when you walk through it. Okay. Google. So we were like, is it the breakout? But when it pulled all the way back, I'm like, didn't have volume, but today it's moving higher. Still looks strong. Goldman turned. Intel feels like Intel's starting to fade. Of course it is. I mean, look at the bullishness to it. It's got to take a breath for sure. IWM is quite the was that 1%. Gave it back quite quickly. Small caps not holding on the way the Dow is today. Lumentum selling off post earnings. Lamb Research. Oh, Lamb Research. Yeah, look at that one go. MasterCard, Meta. Monster has earnings. Morgan Stanley, Microsoft. Netflix is struggling. Point out it had some volume, just not the flag breakout. Yeah, I mean, right. That's what I was seeing was that shadow kind of sunk back into that area. But look, it certainly has bullishness, that's for sure. Okay. Are we getting well, there's the start of it. And we'll see if it actually makes the pullback. I'm kind of targeting like 201. We'll see. We'll see what it does. It's still kind of early in the day. Palantir post earnings. The earnings were fabulous and it's still sold off. It's still struggling. The Qs look good. The rocket stocks are sort of sideways. I need to update my watch list. We did do some searching last week and found a few things. Yeah. Let's see. All right, where was I? Oh, Rocket Lab. Ross Stores. I told you it's this thing just sort of moved into the grind. And people have looked at it and said, what do we think? I think it still has a bullish trend. I think stocks like this sometimes will just start moving again. Um, I said that if you took it, you would want to do so. Um, you would want to do so with either time mitigated, meaning you buy the stock, or you try to, and I don't know what the liquidity is on this thing, but you try to, I think it was pretty on the bubble anyways. But if possible, you try to put like a naked put or a credit spread where time is on your side. Okay. RTX, silver, um, let's see, SNDK. All right, let's stop for a second here. Oh, the spy looks great. Pushing highs. Let's go look at the inside of this. Open, stalled a little, keep pushing. So you can see the uh the continuation is there. We gapped and it's continuing to push. It's got good strength about this. Let's go take a quick peek at what this is doing to our VIX. Ooh. Well, now this is interesting because even though the SPY is up almost 1%, the VIX is really it tested lower, but it's kind of holding on, interestingly. Um, yeah, I don't know. That certainly has me a little bit like, ooh, I'm gonna pause and just sort of watch today and get a sense of what that could mean going forward. Okay. Uh any others that anyone has that they want to look at with the group? Let me know, but I'm gonna pop back STX, pulling back. SNDK, Rosanna says. So it had some pretty good earnings here. You can see, and it accelerated it into this move. But all of a sudden now you kind of have this maybe not quite a dark cloud cover forming yet, but it's very close to that. We'll see what today is. If you're in it, I would be thinking about profit taking, tightening stops, and not giving back too much. If you're not in it, I would say this is I mean, a lot of times there's like a closed yesterday, well done. Take a bow, well done. Um but there is often, and I've seen it even sometimes come to the group where we're like, ooh, let's maybe trade it to the downside because what goes up must come down. And think about if someone did that here. They're like, "Hey, I just made good money on it." Because I'll tell you, I'll when we're done here, I'm gonna isolate and I'll show you how that looks very similar. And then the next day it does this, and they're like, "Yeah, see." and they're thinking it's gonna keep on coming down or something like some of the other ones. And then the next day it doesn't, and then it doesn't, and then you get a red, and you're like, okay, and then you get a red, and you're like, oh, I think I'm still okay, and then boop, bingo, just like that, you just lost all that time. And if you maybe had a good entry, but right, so that's where I'm thinking, I'm not, I don't, I don't buy weakness, and I don't sell strength. Right? I don't buy things that are weak at the bottom thinking it's going to come back. And I don't sell things at the top thinking it's going to drop. Okay, let's go forward. Thoughts on Queb? Queb. It's a fun symbol. Yeah, it's kind of having a little sneaky reversal here. Nothing too consistent. You can see that it like started to recover, and then it fell apart, and then it sort of like did this little hiccup thing. Yeah, I think it looks like it has some bullishness right now. It's got a little bit of momentum. So, but it's going to continue up tomorrow. Maybe. I mean, if we're are you talking about Sandisk? I could see when in something like this. This is where I immediately think flag, right? The anytime you have something that is pausing from a short term heavy move up, that's the pull, right? That's the pull, and then we tend to look for uh does it consolidate in this range and then break out to make us think that another move is coming. Um, right. But you can see last time it did the similar thing. It gapped up or it opened higher, and then this candle today could end up being exactly like the previous one at the top. And then there could be a second candle, and then there could be a few of these, and then it gives us. So yeah, I would say watch and see, right? Best thing we can do, watch and see. Okay. STX, similar. Tesla, it's chopping around. TSM, chopping around. Let's see here. UPS and FedEx are trying to recover now. Um, this seems to be doing the opposite flag. And so this one definitely could end up if it you can see there's this old level here. Yeah. I sometimes will like to be aware of if there's like what's going on, but tend to rely on the technicals, Kyle, if that makes sense. So like I some people are like, oh, I don't even look at the news. Yeah, I look at the news. I like to understand what might be motivating it to think like, hey, does that? But you can see even it's like, well, does that have legs? Well, based on my opinion, does that have legs? Where it's like, well, I don't know. The market might think it without me thinking it or whatever. Um, yeah, you need memory to run AI. That's for sure. A lot of it. A lot of it. Um, what do I think about WDC? Let's bring that one up. Exactly. It's too strong. It's too strong of a story. Exactly. I'd say WDC is very similar to SanDisk and STX. They all look a little overextended, turning red, looking for the next consolidation. VOD still looks pretty good today. Um, did I see the who's raising the memory or making it cost more? Yeah. Walmart. Walmart actually looks like it could be a little bit basing and trying to potentially turn into something. Microsoft and Anthropic. Interesting. They're raising the cost. Um, is that like meaning like because Anthropic is Claude? Does that mean they're raising the cost of like their subscriptions? Huh. Okay. Interesting. 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 Yeah, it's funny because they develop models and then there's like the cost of it for um the cost of it for like a retail subscription. You pay a certain amount. I'm sure everyone has at least, yeah, $20, right? And then you have um the developer connections where people who build AI apps, they like they have to pay in a different way, right? They pay by tokens and um there's tokens and each request uses a certain amount and different models uh as well. So yeah, it's interesting, right? Because sometimes as they build new models, the old models start costing less, even though the old models are still pretty good, and because it uses more computing power. Yeah, it's a whole thing for sure. Yeah, it's a whole thing. All right. Well, tokens as well are going up. Yeah, the enterprise spend is totally different as well. The level, like if you're do what are you asking your AI to do, right? If you're not asking it to do that much, it doesn't need, you know, it doesn't need a super sophisticated model. They're not going to pay for it. They're going to pay much less for it. So, all right. Any other stocks we didn't hit? We got through our lists. We'll see if there's any anything that develops today. I'm not sure if this one will or what, but strong day for some of the stocks that we're in. CRM. Thanks, Mike. Is that Salesforce? I think Salesforce is trying to build a little bit of a recovery story here. Yeah, it's trying to build a recovery story. Looks a little bit like it's kind of going into consolidation at this point, but overall, pretty strong. Okay, so yeah, it hasn't even reached the two. That's a good point. It's still fighting its way up, Sandy. It's great to see everybody. And tomorrow morning, Glenn will open things up. We will have our full Q and A's tomorrow evening, so hopefully you can join us for that. Thank you, Kyle. I agree. Hope everyone has an amazing day. Thank you all. Thanks, Doug. As always, happy trading.